Hi everyone, this is going to be a double bill for Eden Zero, chapter 106 and 107. So in 106, we get the introductory to Xiao Mei. It's been a while since we've seen Xiao Mei, but I really like the use of her in narrating the story, and it feels quite nice anyway. And I really like that aspect of the storytelling, the way she's been what do you call it, narrating anyway. So she pretty much separates this into a new cosmos anyway, the owl cosmos. And I gotta say, this introductory of the owl cosmos was pretty interesting. And there is some link into Connors because this is where he said he was from anyway. So that's Rebecca. Only Rebecca remembers that he was from the owl cosmos. So she has a little flashback anyway. And it's quite nice to see how it looks. Everything was it's just interesting to see like a sea a sea in outer space and all the fishes just swimming in space, because that would never happen in real life, stuff like that. And there's also a bit of water, what do you call it, world building in this chapter, because we learn a bit more about the Orasian says, because we've heard that group being referenced a few times, and we know that there's six members, and it's quite nice to see this little panel where we have the four figures in a mysterious silhouette, and we know that who two of them are, and they look pretty cool. With one being Elise and the other one being Draken Joe, and we get introduced to this new one. He's called what's he called? Poseidon Nero. So that name, just in general, has a bit of reference to the Roman Emperor Nero, because his nickname is also Nero. So I'm guessing there's going to have some Roman themes towards that anyway. So I'm looking forward to seeing who Poseidon Nero is. And this chapter is pretty much hyping him up and building up. And there's a bit of expectation for who he is, because apparently he rules the entire cosmos, and that's the difference between him and Draken Joe. Because Draken Joe was always a bit low key in his rule, whereas Poseidon's a bit more public, and he actually rules the entire cosmos himself, because everyone else, what do you call it? Everyone else falls underneath his command, even the kings and presidents of every planet in the galaxy anyway. So he's definitely been built up to be quite a tough guy, and he's even a bigger threat than Draken Joe was in that sense. So that's going to be quite interesting to see. But hopefully he could be a good guy like Elise, because Elise, even though she's part of the same group as Draken Joe, she was really nice and is an ally to the Eden Zero. And I really liked about this chapter is we get the side of the, what do you call it, the interstellar galactic union army. So these guys were kind of a mystery for me, because I literally saw them for like two chapters. They're a bit of an afterthought, but we get a bit more expansion into who they are. And what's more interesting to see is there's actually two Orasian Saces in this series, so that's pretty crazy into seeing, two Orasian Sace. So turns out there's Orasian Sace Interstellar and Orasian Sace Galactica. Galactica versus Stellar, pretty much. So that's pretty crazy to see. There's two different fractions, and they all have like members of similar power. So very interesting to see the two clash anyway. And that kind of brings up the question about morality, because the Interstellar, they kind of what do you call it, brand themselves as like justice and good, and they label Galactica as evil and such, evil prisoner, stuff like that. So good versus bad. That's kind of been the narrative that's been forced on us anyway. But what's interesting to see is that Elise, even though she's supposed to be bad, is quite a nice person anyway. She might be evil. I mean, she might be bad, but she's nice to the Eden Zero crew. So from that aspect, is there going to be some bad people from the Interstellar as well? Kind of a yin yang situation inside both organizations. But yeah, so we get the introduction of the other Rasin Sace. So that's 12 major characters we're going to be seeing throughout the series. I mean, one of them's already been dealt with, so let's say 11 now anyway. And this guy Justice, he seems to strike a massive resemblance to our man Jalal anyway. And the fact that he has a history with Elise is even more evidence to suggest that fact anyway. And it's a bit different to how what do you call it, Ursa and Jalal's relationship is, because he actually wants to kill her. So that's very different anyway. So apparently that woman has taken everything from him. So we'll find out more about what that means anyway. So with that, that was a bit of little world building and a bit of preparation for them to come in later. So I'm really looking forward to how Yarashi and Sace will play a bigger role in the storyline. But nevertheless, they don't really seem to be part of this part anyway. So they get to Red Cave, and they kind of, I don't know, they were expecting it to be Planet of Flames, Red Cave, but it's actually a beach. That's pretty crazy. And there's a bit of water, but I guess there's going to be a plot twist somewhere where we find out more about why it's called the Planet of Flames. But for now, we move on to chapter 107. So I'm going to say chapter 106 was amazing. A lot of world building, a lot of new character introduction. The pieces are starting to get moved. So I really enjoyed that chapter quite a bit. And what chapter 107 is your typical beach chapter, where you see all the characters at the beach and just doing their own things. And yeah, it was quite funny. We get the typical Homura doing her little training on the beach, and we even get which was quite funny was what do you call it? Hermit. She looks like she's just doing some research on the beach, and it almost looks like sandcastles, which is funny. And Weiss was, I think, he was the standout character in this chapter because of his comedic relief. He's always got that little perverted humor, and he's just trying to explain to him what's the best reason to go on the beach. And finally, his best reason is guy rubbing sunscreen on a hot babes. That's what he enjoys. As you can see, he looks like he's ready to rub sunscreen on Witch anyway. So, what era did you crawl out of? So, the one from 50 years ago. So that's pretty funny anyway. And he actually does not get his wish because Witch has a built-in function where they can tan themselves, so that kind of defeats the whole purpose. But he did get a dub in this chapter because he wanted to see if the tan is same under the swimsuit, and Witch actually, what do you call it, grants him permission. And this is that one little panel where he gets to peek where he gets to see the view anyway. So he definitely gets a dub in that chapter anyway. And what do you call it? Hermit does bring up the chapter or the question of, isn't this the Planet of Flames, which is kind of obviously what I would thought as well, because there's a lot of water. So there's definitely something's gonna happen where it turns into like flames or something. There's gonna be a twist somewhere. But for now, they're just enjoying the beach, so that was quite nice. And even Klein wants to join in on some of this. And as you can see, Jin's still a bit of a tsundere type. He doesn't really want to associate with them for now. But because he's got a bit of a sister complex, and he sees his sister being kind of sad, he allows it to go hang out with them. So we get a bit of a montage actually of just enjoying the beach. So I did enjoy this chapter quite a bit. It's a bit of a slice of life, enjoying the beach. Get to see a bit of character interaction as well, and just how they interact. So yeah, it was really cute as well. I really enjoyed that chapter for that reason. So it did look like it was all good, and then I guess the story kind of moves on a little bit because what do you call it? A bit of action happens. Oh no! Before we get to that, there is this one nice little panel where it looks like the water is evaporating, so everything's going up. So, and I gotta say, this little panel looks amazing. But I really did find it quite funny when everyone's looking at the view, and Weiss coming back again, and he's just looking at Homura's ass, and he goes, "What a view indeed!" So yeah, and she kicks him, and I can definitely see there's a bit of flirting going on between uh, Weiss and Homura. I mean, not really between them two, maybe a bit more Weiss, but I can definitely see some chemistry, and I think that might be a thing. A ship. I can definitely sense a ship coming along that way anyway, Homura and Weiss. And we see what do you call it, Ivy being very sarcastic towards Weiss, saying smooth moves anyway. So with that, they just, as they were looking at the view, the end to a perfect day kind of situation. Nothing's really gone bad yet. We get this falling spaceship coming into the sky, and because they got to explore it anyway. So that kind of, I guess, is a little pivot into the plot of the story of this arc anyway. So it's introductory. And we get to this little nice device collars where they can breathe and talk underwater. So that's kind of convenient anyway. And we see in this spaceship there's a dead man. So what's the mystery behind this like dead person coming onto this island anyway? But because he came, they actually see this underwater town. So that's quite interesting to see. This arc might be underwater because it looks like this civilization lives underwater. So interesting to see, and it's just curious to see. They would have never noticed that if this dead person's rocket didn't like crash into the sea. And one thing they did notice is a little temple with a little carving of Mother. So this might be the clue to Mother, because the whole reason why they came onto this island, because apparently there's a bit of there might be a clue to where Mother's location is anyway. So this is actually furthering the plot. So I'm really looking forward to see what do you call it, this the citizens of this world are going to be like anyway, considering they're underwater fish people, blah blah blah. I bet we're going to be introducing them to their politics and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see how this owl cosmos arc is going to be anyway, and especially this what is this island called again, the planet of flames anyway. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's coming next. But apart from that, this was a very good chapter indeed. I really enjoyed the little beach montage, and the comedy in this chapter was hilarious. And Weiss was definitely the MVP. I just enjoy his little what you call it, remarks, and his little reactions. They're quite funny indeed. But yeah, I really enjoyed that chapter, and I'm really looking forward to what's coming next. See you guys.